After cooking for 3 hours straight, I was proud of myself. The kitchen smelled like spices and roasted meat, the table was set with candles, and I even arranged the plates the way I had seen in restaurants. I wanted to surprise my wife with a proper dinner, something to remind us of the warmth we once shared. When she walked in, she looked at the table, then at me, and her expression was not what I had hoped for. Instead of smiling, she crossed her arms and said coldly, "This is pathetic. You're so desperate." Her words cut deeper than any knife in that kitchen. I stood frozen, the food still steaming on the plates. My heart sank, and the effort of those 3 hours felt meaningless in a single moment. I didn't reply, because what could I say to someone who dismissed my love so easily? I quietly pulled out her chair, but she didn't sit. Instead, she rolled her eyes and walked to her room, leaving me standing there in silence. I sat alone, staring at the food I had prepared. For the first time, I realized that the problem wasn't me trying too hard, it was her who no longer cared. The marriage had become a cage, and I was the only one still fighting to keep it alive. That night, I barely slept. Her words echoed in my mind, burning into me. I began thinking of all the small signs I had ignored, her late nights at work, her sudden disinterest in intimacy, her constant complaints. I had convinced myself she was just stressed. But maybe she wasn't stressed at all. Maybe she was simply done with me. The next morning, I decided not to confront her with anger. Instead, I left the house early and went to work. I needed space to think. I kept playing her words over and over, pathetic and desperate. They weren't just insults, they were admissions. She had no respect left for me, and without respect, love cannot survive. I spent the next few days observing quietly. I noticed she guarded her phone like a treasure chest, always turning the screen away from me. At night, she would pretend to be asleep, only to get up when she thought I was snoring. My suspicions grew stronger, and I finally decided to stop being blind. One evening, when she left her phone charging in the living room, I unlocked it. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the messages. What I found confirmed everything. Long, flirty conversations with another man, full of laughing emojis, late-night plans, and words she hadn't spoken to me in years. My chest tightened, but I didn't confront her right then. Instead, I took screenshots and saved them. I spent the next week planning carefully. I wasn't going to beg or scream. If she thought I was pathetic, I would show her just how wrong she was. I reached out to a lawyer and began preparing divorce papers quietly. At the same time, I started pulling my money from our joint account into one of my own. If she wanted freedom, I would give it to her, but on my terms. The turning point came at dinner a week later. She sat across from me, scrolling through her phone, not even bothering to ask about my day. I looked at her calmly and said, "You called me desperate. But the truth is, I was just loyal. And loyalty is something you never deserved." She looked up, startled, her phone slipping from her hand. Before she could respond, I placed the printed screenshots on the table. Her face drained of color. She stammered, "I can explain," but I cut her off. "Save it. I'm done listening to lies. I wasted my love, my energy, and my time. That ends tonight." She begged me not to ruin her reputation, not to expose her affair, but it was too late. I sent copies of the chats to her family and closest friends. The woman who mocked me for cooking a meal was now the one scrambling to save her image. I walked out that night with my bag packed, leaving her in tears. Strangely, I felt no pain, only relief. For years I thought losing her would destroy me, but in truth, losing her freed me. She had been a weight I carried while she mocked the effort I put in. The divorce went through swiftly. With the evidence, I kept most of what we owned, and she left with almost nothing. I learned to cook for myself, not to win someone's affection but because I enjoyed it. The kitchen that once felt like a place of rejection became my space of peace. Months later, I heard from mutual friends that the man she cheated with had abandoned her. She was left alone, her pride shattered. Meanwhile, I had built a new life, calm, independent, and full of dignity. Her cruel words no longer haunted me. They were simply reminders of the day I stopped being desperate and started being free. And so, the dinner she once mocked became the spark that ended our broken marriage. She thought she had humiliated me, but in the end, I walked away with respect, while she was left with nothing but her own emptiness.